Today, I'm going to be teaching you how to make a lasagna from scratch with simple ingredients, and you'll be able to make this lasagna to serve tonight, or, if you want to make it to the day ahead and cook it the next day, you can do that. You can also freeze it. I basically just kind of wing everything as I go through, so the quantities might vary a little. It might turn out a little bit different every time, but usually I have great success, so I hope you will too, and I hope you enjoy. The ingredients that you're going to need for the recipe are a pound of ground hamburger, an onion finely chopped, and if you like garlic, you can put in 1 to 2 garlic cloves that are finely chopped or minced, oven-ready lasagna noodles, spaghetti sauce, and that can be either store-bought, or if you make your own homemade sauce, you can use that. 500 grams of cottage cheese, 2% fat content or higher, 2 to 3 cups of shredded mozzarella cheese, and finally some herbs like oregano, basil, parsley, whatever you like to add a little extra flavor to it. All right, so what I've done here is I've used my electric frying pan to fry up the hamburger and the onions and the garlic all together. I love to use an electric frying pan. I just think it's really handy. You don't mess up get your stove dirty, and usually they're quite large, so you can do a lot of content within them. So what I've done is I've fried up the hamburger here. I think this is done. I'm just going to turn it off, and I'm going to keep stirring this up, and I'm going to be breaking up the hamburger into tiny little pieces. You need to make sure that the hamburger is broken up into small pieces, because when you're putting the lasagna together with the different layers, you don't want big chunks in it, because it'll make it uneven, and it'd be hard to get all of the ingredients in there. So I've got this turned off, just going to let it cool down a bit, and I'm going to continue to break it up into small pieces, and then the next step will be to add in the tomato sauce. Okay, now we're getting to adding in the sauce. I've already added in a jar of one of my favorite sauces, Classico, and you can pick any type of pasta sauce that you like. If you're ambitious enough, you could make your own, but this is trying to make this as easy as possible and as quick to make. Now I've added a bit of water in this just so that I don't waste anything in the jar, and also to make it a little bit runny, because don't forget the noodles that we're using, even though they're oven ready, we've got to make sure that there's enough liquid in there for them to expand and cook properly. Okay, so I don't think this is going to be enough. What I've done is I've opened another can. This one's Hunt's Thick and Rich, and I'm going to start pouring some of it in. Let's see how this goes. Okay, let's add this in, stir it up well, and see how runny it comes. I may need to add some more water, I'm not sure. I'm just gonna get the hamburger all mixed in. And again, the quantity is up to you. You might have a bit left over that you can use on some pasta later on, so don't worry if you end up with too much. It's better to have more than not enough, and you really don't want the thickness of the meat in there. You don't need a ton of meat, so this one actually has a lot. I'm going to finish off this sauce. Why not? I'll just use it up. Okay, so let's do that. Get it stirred in. Okay, this is going to be nice and runny, so that the noodles will absorb the liquid. And what I'm going to do is I'll just add a bit of water to the tin can to clean it out, add it in, and then we've got our sauce ready to go. And there's no need to cook this any further, because it will cook in the oven when you're baking the lasagna. So no need to heat it up any further. All right, that's the sauce. So to finish off with the sauce, I want to add in a bit of more spices and herbs. So I've got some onion powder here. I'm going to add that in, quite a bit. And then I've got some garlic powder, even though we put garlic in it, fresh garlic. I sometimes like to add a little extra. And then secret ingredient here, I love to use oregano. So I'm just going to Not too much, but there we go. So that's enough. And then I'll just mix it in, make sure it's all mixed in really good. And the flavors will come out when I'm actually baking the lasagna. It just gives it a little nicer flavor, adds to the store-bought sauce. Sort of my half homemade sauce and store-bought combined. And usually it comes out pretty good. So let's we'll move on now to the assembling of the lasagna. I've started the process of putting together the lasagna. So what I did was, in the very bottom of the pan, I put a nice, fairly thick layer of the sauce so that it has a nice bed for the noodles to sit on. And then I've put, this is quite a big pan, so I was able to put 3 flat, no-bake lasagna noodles across there, and then I had to break up some little pieces to put it at the end because I just didn't want to waste the space. Next, what you're going to do is layer it with some cottage cheese. Now, try not to make it too thick. You have to kind of spread this around a little bit. You can use ricotta cheese, but I've always used cottage cheese and it's worked out pretty good. Okay, so just mush it in there. Get a little bit. Some layers you can do, more than others, but I just try to keep it nice and spread out, nice and thin. All right, now what I'm going to do now is I've got a lot of finely shredded mozzarella cheese. So I'm going to take the mozzarella cheese and I'm going to spread a thin layer across that. I haven't made this in a while, so I'm hoping this is going to turn out okay. Usually does. All right. So again, there's really no set quantity of anything that I'm using. I just kind of, know the ingredients that I want to put in there and just use my best judgment as to whether or not there's enough ingredients, covering everything. Okay, so I think I've got a nice layer of mozzarella cheese in there, cover up any blank spots. Now I'm going to add another layer of the sauce. So here's where you can see that why it's important not to have big chunks, because they will get in the way and not make everything flat. All right, so I'm going to keep stirring this around. So you can see how, it just kind of all blends in together. I'm hoping I have enough sauce because I need to do 3 layers here, so I might be in trouble. Oh well, you know what? We will figure it out. I might have to add some tomato sauce, maybe use that on the last layer. Again, as I said, I haven't made this in a while, so just kind of going by memory. All right, so I think I've got enough sauce here now. Just blending it in well. There we go. All right, so I might change this one up again. I think what I'll do is I'll put the large noodle at the opposite end. Okay, and then I'm going to break the noodles up and add to the end of that. Okay, so I'm adding on this layer here, I decided to change it up a bit, and I put the pasta down, and then I put the tomato sauce on top of that. And now what I'm doing is I'm layering the rest of this container of cottage cheese on here. So it's nice and liquidy. I think that's going to be enough cottage cheese. Okay. So I kind of mix that in with the tomato sauce so it's mixed in nice. Kind of blends all together. All right. So I think that's enough cottage cheese. I have to do one more layer of the noodles, but I'm just going to put a nice small layer of mozzarella cheese on here. Okay. Cheesy lasagna is always good. All right, and now what I'm going to do, for the last layer, we got one more layer of noodles to do. All right, so again, I'm alternating where I'm putting these noodles, at which end, because they're a little long. And then, and here, you know what, there's enough room up top here. I'm just gonna, there, perfect. All right, so there's the last layer. And what I'm gonna do is, there's no more cottage cheese. The last layer basically is the final sauce, and then I will put some cheese on top of that, and we're done. So this was just touch and go as to whether or not I had enough sauce, but I think I'm going to. It spreads out pretty good. So that was 1 can of the spaghetti sauce and 1 jar with probably about maybe half a cup to 3/4 of a cup of water that I used to thin it out. All right, it's going to be touch and go. All right, the lasagna is ready to go in the oven. So what I did on the top layer, I finished it off with the mozzarella cheese, and I sprinkled some Parmesan cheese on it, as well as I had some mozzarella spread, just to put a little extra color in it. So now it's ready to go in the oven. I'm going to pre-cook it because I'm not going to eat this till tomorrow. So I'm just going to put it in the oven probably around, let's say 400 degrees for 20 to 30 minutes. I just want to cook it enough that it just kind of settles and that the noodles get absorbed. So I'm going to say half an hour at 400. And then tomorrow, when we go to cook it, before we eat it, I'll put it in the oven probably at 300. I don't want to cook it too quickly because I'll have it in the fridge. So I'll take it out of the fridge for a couple hours, let it warm up, put it in the oven for, I'd say, probably 40 minutes to an hour. So basically when you cook it the final time, around 300 or 325, and then once it starts bubbling, and you can tell, you know, when it's hot, you want it to be thoroughly hot all the way through, and let it sit for 5-10 minutes before you cut it, and then enjoy. And that's the easy country lasagna. Hope you enjoy.